All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. I'm back, and today I am joined by my friends, John and Rolando, aka the Skeleton Boys.
Let's go, the
Guys,
boys.
welcome. Welcome to the podcast. It's been a long time since we last spoke.
Hi.
Like a month or 2
Hello.
months.
Yeah.
I was on your
2 months
podcast.
ago. Yeah.
It's like not that long ago. So these guys, we go way back to our undergrad days, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yes, we do.
Yep.
Yep.
All the way back
Pan
to
Am.
2017.
2019.
No. No. Go for
we're,
it.
we're,
2019.
we're,
Go back.
really
When it was
pushing
just-
our age now because
when it was just
we're all
Pan Am
hitting that
University, not
mid-twenties.
even UTPA.
No. Nobody knows what that is.
It was actually still an airport. It was still Pan American Airlines
That's all it was.
when we went to college.
A Caliche runway.
Yeah.
That's all it was. A Caliche runway.
No, yeah. Our
Yeah,
university is
that was our
even
mascot.
more worthless
entire
now because there's no thing. Our school doesn't even exist. That's how worthless our
No,
degrees are
it
now.
does not exist.
So
they're
the
more-
two colleges that I went to for undergrad and for grad school don't exist anymore. I went to Pan Am and now it's UTRGV, and then I went to New School for Drama and now it's just New School for something else. My school got swallowed up, so
Oh,
my degrees
shit.
are
No way.
worthless. Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow.
they had you, and then they're like, I mean, where do we go from here? Don't even bother.
exactly.
We've already
just-
got the one.
Yeah, exactly.
We've done
Why-
everything we possibly could.
Why train another when perfection has been met with this one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
that's
think
it.
John and I we met in 2006, way back when
Yes.
in the Lion in Winter.
The Lion in Winter.
That was my very first play I ever was involved with in my life.
Damn.
I'm surprised to hear that when you said
Sirloin decline.
Sirloin, yes, was birthed out of that. Yeah, why are you surprised with
Out of a
that?
peen.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I just I don't know. I assumed that like you had done you're like heavy into acting, heavy into theater, films, like you're like doing it all.
Drugs, whatever, you know?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the
you know.
drugs and the alcohol come with the career, and then you
Yeah.
sober up for the comeback. So I've been
Oh,
working
that's
on the
awesome.
comeback
See-
for a long time.
I was actually working the opposite. I was like, what complements my heavy drinking and heavy drug use? And they're like, why don't you go into acting? I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but sure, let's do it.
Let's do it, and it's readily available.
Yeah, that's like you do cagalero shit, right? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, that is.
That all
It's this
day
cagalero shit.
Yeah.
For our Caucasian listeners, it's hood rat shit.
You're
But
being modest.
yeah, we're
You're
being very
modest.
modest. Yeah, with that. But yeah, it was like 2006. We were doing the Lion in Winter.
Wow.
And you know what? I'll never forget too about that. There was a band, and John, I don't even know if you'll even remember this. Head Automatica.
Yeah.
You had a shirt, and I kept saying, "Oh, Head Atomica."
Yeah.
And
Yes,
you
yeah.
never let me forget that I said that. Head Atomica. So I was hip. I was cool.
Yeah, it's
and
the,
then-
the
John's
one
always
with
been-
that song, "Beating Hearts,
Hearts,
Baby."
baby,
Baby.
Man, that was back to the seeds that were like planted in my romance with my wife.
Wow, I thought you
Yeah,
said
way
try not to
back.
talk about things like that on planting
Dude, I
seeds in your
can.
wife.
Well, I
think
have
there's
two.
two of them now. Yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, I mean, you have to like have already been running to be canceled. Like I'm not even at that point yet, or will be. So I'm pretty much open game for that. And then Rolando and we met during
Yes.
Mice and Men.
Yeah, I gave you Skittles and the beans. Forgot to tell that
Skittles
story.
and the
So
Yeah, yeah, like my
I
beans
think
with
my
ketchup, but you
favorite.
gave me Skittles.
Yeah,
That was
Skittles and
awful.
the Beans. It's my favorite morning talk show host.
I-
Skittles and Beans.
apparently, if I remember correctly, the whole thing was that the last show we used to
pranked
play
everything.
pranks on people. We pranked everybody, right?
Yeah,
And for some reason, I put Skittle in the beans. I like messed up a lot of people's shit that day. Like I
Well,
put Skittle in your
it was
beans. And,
Skittles and the beans, and then there was like the gun at the end where like George shoots Lenny. You put shoe polish on the handle. But the worst
yeah.
was with Megan in the cup, the tampon in the coffee
Oh
cup.
man, I thought you were gonna say the worst was you put a live round in the gun, but I guess that wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That was epic.
It was not produced by Alec Baldwin.
No,
They
no,
had
no.
to
We're
talk
from
about
Texas.
us.
I should
Yeah.
preface that. We just always play with guns.
Always.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Do you
Keep
remember that
live
they had
rounds in
to
our
like
coffins.
talk to us and tell us like, oh, you guys can't be doing that anymore because it like really got really escalated.
Here's the thing. The thing is, like, I thought it was funny. I wasn't making a big deal about it. Megan made a big deal because I understand why she made a big deal because that was like kind of like weird. You know what I mean?
I don't know who did that. I don't know who. That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
But
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Their biggest thing was not even that. They thought that I was gonna choke on the Skittles as I ate beans, as if I was an infant. I'm like, the only thing that bothered me about it was I didn't expect them to be Skittles in my beans.
Yeah.
And
That's the
so
fun
like,
part.
yeah, they had that talk with us. It's like, oh, he could have choked. I'm like, I mean, am I what 8 months? I mean,
Yeah, what is this? I eat Skittles and beans all day long.
yeah, it's just they just switched my jar.
I slow
like
stew my
Rorschach in
Skittles
it.
every day.
Yeah. So like, so
It's funny.
we have the Skeleton Boys here, and we're gonna move on just to a little bit of horror. Like, tell us a little bit about your podcast, what it's about.
We're a horror movie podcast.
Yeah.
What is it?
We review porn.
Yeah. Or a horror movie podcast.
There's a surprisingly good amount of story in porn. It's just people know. It's just this whole YouTube generation where they just want clips.
Just a
Man,
TikTok.
there's a whole movie behind this, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, Skeleton Boys was how did it start? Podcast. So we decided to. So John and I have always obsessed about stuff in movies, even the smallest, weird, obscurest movies. We've always like dug on them. We loved them. And
Yeah.
his favorite movie is Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And my favorite movie is The Exorcist, right? Or The Thing. So we're like
She's all that.
obsessives with that genre.
That's a horror movie.
she's all
Actually,
that.
it's The Lake House.
Yeah.
We've decided The Lake House is our favorite movie.
Yeah,
On
we
the Skeleton
decided,
Boys.
we're kind of like. So we thought with the pandemic hitting and we're all inside, let's do a podcast. And I personally, I haven't heard any horror movie podcasts or any that I liked. So I thought, well, John and I can have fun, interesting conversations about movies, and we have background in movies and making movies behind the sets. John still currently works in movies, of course, and so I just thought, well, we have a lot to say. We have a lot to do, a lot to say about movies and horror movies in particular. So that's really kind of how it started.
Yeah. When did y'all start?
I'm aware. Oh.
Christmas, like around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November
2020.
2020. Yeah.
2020.
Was it 2020?
Yeah.
So we've been going on
Man,
for about a
we've been doing it
year.
for
About
a
a year and a half.
Yep.
Yeah. Not
you.
bad.
You were on our anniversary show.
I
by the way.
was.
Yep.
So it was a
So-
year. Yeah, that makes
It
sense
was
now.
a year, yeah.
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 So
Not
I was
bad.
gonna say there is another
it's-
horror movie podcast that Jack Wade's like one of the hosts of.
Uh-huh.
So we're coming after
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Well-
They're all going down.
Us and
Yeah.
our skeleton crew army.
Well, I don't know if
Maybe.
you remember, so when I came up to New York, I found, it sounds stupid. I discovered podcasts for myself back in like my first year up here in New York. And like the first podcast I discovered was a friend of mine, Bernardo Cubria. He has his like off and on. It was about like, he was thinking about quitting, acting altogether. And luckily he didn't, because he's found a new passion in writing, and he's still acting, and he's out in LA. It runs, with the Valley people in LA. So you probably will run into him. I was staying at Mondo Alvarado's house.
Yeah, no
And
wonder.
so So Mondo was the first guest on there, and so I started discovering podcasts. And like when you catch up, you start thinking, well, man, this is pretty exciting. I like these things. Like sometimes like you can listen to so many songs, but sometimes you just on these commutes you want to hear what people have to say. And I stumbled upon like the scripted podcasts, the Black Tapes. I don't know if you ever heard that. It's kind of like one of the first kind of semi horror podcasts where it's like a radio play almost. And
Oh,
those
Oh,
nice.
cool.
they're
Like
really
coast
cool.
to coast?
No. So coast to coast is more like the people calling in and talking about
Oh, that's
Yeah.
their
right.
paranormal experiences. And there's another one. So I listen to Jim Harold, the Jim Harold's Campfire, which is like who he pays homage to coast all the time, and it's exactly like that. People call in, and I found that podcast, and then I stumbled upon Shockwaves, which at the time was a Blumhouse podcast where they, had movies. They talked about, what they watch. It's all the LA people.
Yeah.
Rebecca McKendry, Elric Kane. There was a guy, Rob Galuzzo, out there, and then Ryan Turek joined because he was head of programming at Blumhouse, and now he's, producing the Halloween movies and some other movies there for Blumhouse. But I got into
Yay.
listening to that. But when you talk about horror podcasts not being a lot, maybe about 2 years ago, all those like the Shockwaves podcasts kind of moved over to the Fangoria network when Fangoria moved to Dallas out of New York. And that's when Mick Garris had his podcast there. So Mick Garris would have a filmmaker on. I think they had Nightmare on Film Street. There's just a few
They have a whole network now. Yeah.
they had a whole network at Fangoria, but what happened was they got Me Too'd hard. Like
I heard
the
about
guys that
Really?
this I don't remember, Cinestate or whatever they're called there in Dallas, were creeps. And so that kind of like got people to leave. And then one of the hosts that I guess Rob Galuzzo apparently was doing some stuff for that was creepy as well. And he was an editor for Fangoria, and he lost his job. And I think he worked for Bloody Disgusting as well, lost all that. And so Shockwaves kind of just dismantled, because I mean, the other three hosts, Ryan Turek is obviously like he can't associate with that on
Right.
holding the position he does for a company like Blumhouse. And then the other two hosts will kind of, we still love talking about horror, like the deep end, the deep cuts. So there was no horror podcast for, like you said, like quite a bit, because everything kind of got dismantled. And there was some, but it's kind of, hit
Just
or
a lot
miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, another one that I'm familiar with is Bessie Sidaro. Has one with a couple of friends.
Yeah.
And they just review like fun horror movies, but they're just being funny the whole time,
Yeah. And like the
We're
closest
dead
thing,
serious.
yeah, you're artists.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
We're
Look
artists,
at the
damn it.
art. The art
Look
in
at it.
Funhouse.
Do they have a skeleton in their artwork in their podcast? No.
No,
No.
it's too spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's edgy, guys.
Yeah.
Especially if it said skeleton.
We are not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to blur out the skeleton in your background.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah.
Well, that's why he's wearing the Ray-Bans, because the skeleton's afraid of us,
Oh,
and he
I
doesn't
didn't-
want
you
us
know
to
what?
know.
I didn't even see him there because he had the Ray-Bans on. He was in disguise.
It's for reals. He has the They Live Ray Bans. He
Yeah,
sees
those
it all.
are-
He sees the truth.
Those look like more like Lokes, like from Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
it does. I like that for Black History Month, Shudder put out Tales from the Hood.
Yeah,
You'll see that.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like a heavy on
No,
like
no, it's
the social
appropriate,
commentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
but come on, I mean,
Man,
No,
What's
but
it-
like, when's the
here's the
last time you
thing.
saw that movie?
I saw it, and I saw the second
Forever.
one, and the first one holds up a lot better.
Oh my god, the first one is amazing. It's so
The first
it's
one's
pretty
so
fucking
good.
hard. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, and then the second one was like fucking trash.
it was.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
they were just grasping for something for the second one. I had such high hopes for the second one because I loved the first one.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
the first one, and the second one it missed it for me. There's just a thing for me, like I think we're just talking about like liberal Hollywood or whatever, but like we're all socially conscious guys. Like we know what's right, we know what's wrong, and there's just a point where sometimes the wokeness needs to be toned down just a little bit. Otherwise, that overtakes the themes of the movie and the story.
Yeah.
Like I start forgetting about the horror. It's like, oh my gosh, I see what this is about now. You know, like I
Do you have
think
any
like
examples, recent examples of that? Of that?
was it Black
Or-
Christmas the remake?
Oh
we didn't know
yeah,
about it.
John told me about that one.
Yeah.
We saw the original, but yeah, John told me about that one.
You
yeah.
know what movie? Like really, I was kind of like, oh, are they gonna go there? Please don't go there. And then they stopped. Was the new Chainsaw Massacre? Which
Oh, yeah.
what I liked
yeah.
about it was they were already going to start talking about cancel culture and the stuff, and as soon as like you're going to be canceled, you know, like not as
Yeah.
horrible. It's like we're going to shut that down real quick now.
Yeah.
But
We
they-
But I will
recently
say
reviewed
that
it,
one felt
and,
yeah.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say
Go
that
ahead,
one
John.
felt a little too woke because honestly, you know, we're socially conscious people. We're not horrible people, but like, how come I can't see and talk about bobs and vagines and bums and peens? Like, there was not enough of that.
yeah,
There was none of it actually.
Pops and Vaganas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Bazookas and boombas and
Yeah.
roombas, all the above.
Well, you know, like that's I mean, I think that was a thing. Okay, when you were younger, wasn't that like kind of a gateway into like seeing horror? Was like you knew that there was going to show something that as kids
Yeah.
you weren't supposed to see.
Then I would watch horror movies because I was like, maybe I'll see some boobs.
Yeah,
You know, like,
little dirty kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's the valley. It's fine.
Yeah.
we're
It's
from the
the valley.
yeah from the
So-
valley. We don't matter.
No, we don't play no games, man.
We don't play that in the RGV. We don't play. I went to middle school with one of those guys.
I just remember
Oh, really?
Yeah, the big one.
as a kid, the big guy.
With
Yeah,
the
he
high
played-
pitched voice.
I remember as
No, no,
a
no.
kid.
Yeah, the biggest one out of the group. And you know how
Uh-huh.
what class I had him for? I had him for band. We played French horn.
Ah,
nice.
Sixth grade. That's it's gangsters.
You should
Gangster
have busted
gets.
out the fucking.
Hey,
it
the
would've been more case you
RGB
busted out the
weed on.
French horn.
Yeah. Or bust up the
Yeah.
play the skin flute. All right, moving on. What?
Go ahead. Gee,
Yeah, you're canceled.
tromboner. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. As soon as I bust out my skin flute game,
Yeah.
and
See,
then
there-
cut to me, I actually have a flute that I fashioned out of human skin. And organs.
That's
I'm like,
that's
"Told
what
you."
Ed Gein would have done. You know, that's the Leatherface.
Yeah.
I call that guy a clown. I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah. So, what were your early horror influences?
Yeah, well,
Really
like
horror
Sam Raimi
influences.
for sure.
Raimi?
Mhm.
Do you remember like your earliest horror experience, or like what would be the scary movie like back in the day for you? Because I keep trying to think of what it was for me. Because I was a scaredy cat when I was little.
Oh,
Mm.
you know,
And I
most people
slowly-
say the
Mhm.
Tales from the Crypt intro was what
Yeah.
fucked them up the first time. When the Crypt Keeper
Yeah.
pops out at the end, there are a lot of people say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
used to
that's-
hide behind the couch because I knew my
Yeah.
little brother was watching. Like we would watch it with our parents.
Yeah.
No, I'd hide behind the couch. And right when the Crypt Keeper would pop up, I'm like,
Yeah.
ah! And it was like, you know, my mom would not hit me, but reprimand me for
Yeah.
scaring the shit out of my little brother all the time.
She hit you. Come on, John.
Yeah,
It's
she
okay.
hit
It's a
me.
safe space.
It's a safe space.
No, I
You're
knew.
not a
I went to
child
my
anymore.
room, flogged myself.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're not child anymore.
Kneel on the cheese grater.
Yeah.
You know which one I hear all the time, and that is that actually did happen with me. That I actually heard more when I was as I got older was the TV movie It. That movie.
That
fucked
one
me
was
up.
a big one. That was one of my first because it was, I guess it came out when I was in first grade. No, first grade. It came out when I was in first grade. And it was scary, but it was still safe because it was on ABC.
Yeah, I think we're all the same age, George. Right?
Yeah.
We must be right. We're on. I'm
Yeah.
84. Do you want to say your
83.
age? Yeah. Okay, we were close. So close enough. So yeah, so I must
You
have
guys
been.
look great. I'm only
around-
35, but you're
Yeah, I know.
born 83.
You're
Respect.
young buck.
Look at him, so young, full head of
You
hair.
guys are
that guy.
Like 50 years older than me.
I feel it right now.
But
Man, I'm not even lying. Like, I feel it. Like, I feel so old these days, like with 2 kids. And there's just something where I just feel like I'm aged up. Like
Yeah.
like this is sounds
Dude.
Yeah.
really, really awful, but it's sometimes I was watching The Shining and I was just like, yep, I get it. I'm not gonna do it.
You're like,
I'm not gonna do
who's
it.
the real bad guy in this movie?
Yeah, I was like, seriously, all he wanted to do was write a book. And they
Yeah,
kept
and the
bugging
hotel
him.
was like trying to throw the guy a bone, and then
Yeah,
his wife was just like, "Your kid, you know,
yeah,
you gotta take care of your kid, you know."
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just like,
bye
it's like,
bye. Right?
yes, olive oil. Oh, he's large.
Oh, he's large, but he's.
And then
Yeah,
remember,
I fucking
about
love that
Vito?
song.
Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
I love
Popeye,
him, but he's large.
large.
Um, I was gonna say, so I'm recently, like, well, not recently, but now, I've been single for like a quick minute, and a buddy of mine, whenever like he gets off work early, and if I'm free, we always go to the same bar now because there's like nobody there, outside seating, whatever. Um, One time we went, these two young ladies decided to sit next to us, and it was like obvious they were just trying to pick up whatever pairs of guys were there alone, obviously. And it was like, and I looked at them, and then I'm overhearing the conversation they finally had with like these two English guys, like super young dudes,
Yeah.
and that were like, "Oh yeah, well we're from like Essex," and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," and I'm like, "You fucking have never been to Essex. You have no clue,
Yeah.
dude." Like they could have said anything, and they still said Essex. Um,
Oh my.
but
So
I look at these
cool.
girls and they're like, oh, they just moved there like a month ago. And I turn and look at the girl that I guess was supposed to be like the one hitting on me. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta be like 15 years older than you or something. That's what it felt like.
Did you get a little pep in your step? Like, did you feel
You
like
did.
100 bucks?
No, I was just like, get out of here, kid.
Like, get out of
You
here.
don't
You
want
know
none
what?
of this shit.
I've seen things. I have seen things you would never believe, kid.
I've
Yeah.
touched
Yeah.
things. I've eaten things. I've done a lot of things.
We
I
chase
actually
butterflies.
really enjoy doing things. And I
Yeah.
also like sleeping. And then she's like, who's this old creepy guy talking about how he enjoys
Yeah.
doing things?
It's just like, this homeless situation in LA has really gotten out of
Yeah.
hand.
Sometimes I enjoy a free coffee and a free paper.
Yeah. Take it back to my tent. Is it really that bad in LA? Because I mean, I'm here in New York, and so there's always like that kind of West Coast, East
Beef.
Coast beef. But there's
Yeah.
everywhere else says it seems to say like the homeless situation in LA is really bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I think that whole like LA's got it worse, New York's got it worse. I'm like, why are we trying to win this? Like, why is either
No.
side trying to win this one? Like,
Dude,
no.
I do have to say that I was out of New York for 2 years and I came back, and there are more homeless people now
Yeah.
in roaming the city. And I do believe it's because of the previous mayor we just had, de Blasio.
Mhm.
That guy was
Mhm.
worthless. He was just like the most worthless mayor.
Yeah.
And like a lot of things went to shit because of him. MTA was just bad. The city was just divided, and so like the new mayor is trying to change things up, and one thing he's trying to change up, because I noticed there's a lot more homeless people sleeping on the trains. So now police are supposed to be patrolling the trains more and saying that you cannot sleep on trains, but you can sleep
That
elsewhere.
sucks. Yeah.
It's
You know,
like
here,
what the
it's-
hell?
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a
here,
big thing here for the homeless to buy like one whatever ticket and they just
Mhm.
ride all day and they sleep
Well,
in
Yeah.
them. That's
not
kinda
even
the
that.
main
Like
thing
you
here.
don't have to buy a ticket here if you're homeless, and if it drops below a certain temperature, the city allows all the homeless people to get on trains or buses for the remainder of the night to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Are they
Sure.
ever a problem or anything? Because I've never had issue with any homeless people. Only when I worked at the gym that I worked at, and that was more like I would give them a cup of water at the juice bar, or whatever, and maybe like one of their older like meals that they had and send them on their way. But even then, what was weird, in New York, where you had homeless people, and at the end of the night, restaurants have to get rid of stuff. This juice bar, I remember they would always throw away food, like just tons and tons of food. And I said, well, there's a homeless people like right here, like, or like there's around the corner, there's always gonna be homeless people. Why don't you give it to them? And they said, well, because of lawsuits, because if we give
Yeah,
them food and they get sick or claim they got sick because of the food, they can sue the company, and then they're not
because it's
homeless
happened.
anymore. Yeah.
It's happened a couple of times. Yeah.
It's so crazy to think that that's like an issue, like a concern that they have in New York. And one of the other things about homeless, when I worked at that gym, so the gym itself was Equinox on Greenwich Ave. I don't work there anymore, so I don't really care. And this wasn't about Equinox; it's about the hospital directly across from Equinox. When I worked the front desk, I would see where the emergency room exit. Why is this saying my
Oh,
Zoom will
let it
end in
down.
10 minutes?
No, get it all in. Skeleton Boys every Thursday.
Yeah, no, like, why is it
That guy
saying
goes to drop.
this?
No,
Dude,
no,
that's insane. Yeah, that's such a crazy story. You're looking at the hospital and it says you
Yeah,
will
no, no.
end in 10
So, like,
minutes.
so what happened was homeless people would go in there, either they were overdosed or passed out on the street, right?
Yeah.
And I saw this on about two different occasions where an orderly or nurse would wheelchair one of the homeless people out with security, and they would walk
Mhm.
just out of earshot from the hospital, but still where I could see, and just lift the wheelchair out and dump them off on the sidewalk. I saw that
Oh, that's horrible.
twice. Yeah.
It's
I don't
horrible.
know what the hell is happening.
It's horrible. It's
Why
because
is this?
the Big Apple is like into theater and slapstick, so
Yeah.
just trying to
I
be
think it's because you were
appropriate
talking
with
about De Blasio. He's cutting your time over there. He's cutting your.
Yeah.
it. I
No,
was gonna
it's 'cause,
say, wait, how do
you
you?
have a free account, so if it's 3 people, it says,
Yeah,
"Oh,
no, no,
it's
no.
gonna
But I
run
thought I
out." But
had
it,
that. That's so lame. We're gonna get this taken
no,
care
it'll be
of.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
I think it'll be all
No.
right. Usually, it still records, I believe. I
This
don't
is
know.
remaining meeting time is 8:36. This is
Oh God,
not good. Like, what? We barely talked for like 5 minutes, man.
I wonder
I know.
if you just
How do
keep
we
it
do?
going, then they just charge you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they should. I mean, I don't know. Either way, I'm trying to see what's going on here, but keeping the conversation going. Um,
Yeah.
so what are your plans with the Skeleton Boys? What have you what
Oh,
is
I was
like?
gonna ask a controversial
Uh,
question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel about the new mayor's lifting vaccination requirements and COVID negative test requirements for all indoor arenas and theaters and stuff like that?
I don't. I'm kind of. I think I don't know, man. I'm torn because I teach
Yeah,
and I feel we have to wear masks while doing scenes. So I think that's like hard.
that
And
is
it's really
difficult.
hard to tell to teach sort of like this acting exercise um with masks on. And I don't know, man. It's really hard to say. Like eh, I'm tired of wearing masks,
Mhm.
and I don't know how strict it was in LA where you had to present your vax cards. In New York, you like wherever you would go, it just
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the
it's
Yeah,
same.
it's the
like
same.
we'd
Yeah.
have to show it.
Mhm.
But what it's telling me, and what it's going to give fuel for, is what we were talking about before. Is like conspiracy theorists saying, like, "Well, wasn't it bullshit all along?"
Yeah.
And like it gives them that sort of thing.
Well,
Well, masks weren't working, so all of a sudden, you already, I'm already hearing this stuff. Is like, well, now a war started. We
yeah,
forgot about COVID and COVID, blah 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 blah. And the
yeah,
moment
yeah.
I feel like we let the guard down, was there going to be another wave? Is there going to be
Yeah.
something new
That's the
developing?
fear.
I just don't know. It's very uncertain. Um,
Because it's also like Omicron hit everybody so hard,
yeah,
and now that everybody
Mm.
got sick and everybody's back, they're good for like 3 months. So people are probably gonna forget.
yeah,
Well, I've been thinking about it recently because they no longer require masks at my job. Like you don't
yeah,
have to wear a mask; it's not required.
yeah.
So I am gonna ride masks out just because that's what I feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So my thing is this is gonna force people now to basically like get on board or not, right? That's I've been thinking. This is how my thought process is like if you're not vaccinated, then the majority of people are in LA for the most part. We have a
Yeah.
high vaccination rate,
Yes.
and now they're gonna force people to be like, okay, no mask. People get sick, but they're not in hospitals, right? That's kind of like the thing, right? If you're vaccinated,
Yeah.
so now it's gonna force people to kind of like, hey, do you want to either no more mask? You got to get vaccinated. They're take the risk, or there's even like some people are not even hiring people unless you're vaccinated. If you're looking for new
Yeah.
jobs, there's a couple of people at work who aren't vaccinated, and of course I lectured them and told them they need to hurry up and get vaccinated. Don't be stupid, and for health reasons, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But I think it kind of puts people like, hey, get on board or not. Like we gotta move forward, right?
I think, yeah, and I think it's really like I said, I'm kind of torn between, um, man, like I know, like if I'm starting to feel a little sniffle, if I'm feeling like feverish, or if I'm feeling anything like that, then I'm going to wear a mask,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to feel like, that I need to protect. Like I have kids, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's people that are immunocompromised, like in the family. I just I don't know. Like some days I feel like maybe like COVID is kind of like they've found ways to treat it now, or then there's
I think
times where I
they're
don't, I don't know,
Yeah.
because
they're learning it on the fly. They're learning
yeah,
it day to day. We're learning new
w-
shit. That's
some of
that's
the
the
things,
unfortunate thing.
yeah, and some of the things that bother me is that makes not only me, but like I could see how people would question things is when they say, well, there's been zero flu cases, this
Yeah.
year, or whatever it was. There's been very few flu cases. Well, like, are you even testing for flu cases anymore? And I
Exactly.
went and I
Mm-hmm.
took my kids to the pediatrician when they got sick, and all they did was check for COVID. And I was like, are you gonna check for strep, or for
Yeah.
RSV, or for the flu? And they're like, well, we treat them the same, so we're not. I'm like, so then your statistics are kind of like skewed in that sense.
Yeah.
And
They.
and if they treat them the same, they're still kind of different,
Yeah.
because my kid got RSV and one got COVID, and the one who got RSV got hit harder than the one that got COVID, and it could be the other way around for someone else. So I don't know. It's a pretty crazy thing. Um,
In LA for the free PCR test through Fulgent, which is like the
mhm.
universal health thing here.
Yeah,
They do tests for all three now. Whenever you go get a COVID test, it's like you're
yeah.
getting tested for all three.
Well, that makes sense. When I went with my kids, they weren't, and that's what was
Damn.
bugging me. It's like, okay, so we're checking for this, but say you're not going to get, it comes back, and my daughter doesn't have COVID. What are you going to say then? Like, oh, she's still sick. How are we going to treat that? You know what I mean?
Was he like,
No.
I think she's faking it, so just
Basically, is what they're saying.
rub an egg all over her body and crack it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I might as well have just resort to that. Hold on, I'm gonna pause this real quick. I'm gonna
Okay.
figure
Okay.
this out. All right, hold on.
Cool.
Well, we had a little glitch in the system there. We're back. Everything got sorted out. When we were talking about COVID and what we thought about what the future of COVID was, and I mean, um, I don't know. Like going back to what we were talking about is that I am very conflicted about, you know, is it still a big threat? Is it still as deadly as it once was? We've you know lost people. I mean, John,
Mhm.
more than most. I mean, you lost your father, and there's just a lot of people we lost throughout this. So it's hard to deny. Like when people deny that COVID doesn't exist, they say like COVID
Yeah.
is just a
Ugh.
hoax. It's not true, because we do know people.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and what do we what do we believe too now, because now people just I think the biggest problem is the internet at the same time.
Yes. Well,
And
Yeah.
it's also the
That's true.
situations I've been in. Like I could have sworn
yeah,
about a month ago, like that's it. I guess I'm finally gonna get COVID. Like my
yeah,
time has come.
yeah,
Cause on the show I was on, I got a close contact call 4 times in 1 week. And
Mm,
unfortunately, each of like I'm the only person that got that call because I was, in a van with somebody,
mm-hmm.
or like having lunch with these people for like an hour and a half, maskless, just talking to each other, straight just spitting in each other's noses.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I don't know how I never tested positive, neither the prop master, but everybody else went down, and they were all boosted, and we're like, we have no clue how this fucking works.
And with us in our situation with COVID, it happened where it's hard to trace where you get it from,
Mm.
too. It could be from anything. And what we found was that when it came into our house, our my cousins had it, and my parents hung out with them on a Friday. They came over on a Saturday, right? And then by Wednesday, they said, "Oh, your cousin's like tested positive for COVID. They got it. They had all the symptoms, everything, lost taste, everything." And then my parents did not test positive, and they tested a
Yeah.
few times just to double check. I tested negative. Rosa tested negative, but our daughter tested positive. Now, so we got tested. Rosa and I got tested, like, so that was like a Friday, right? So then Sunday, we had contact, I guess. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're alerted. Thursday, we got the test. Our daughter got the test on Friday. She got tested and she was positive, but she was fine. No symptoms, nothing. She
Yeah.
was fine. But then I, who tested negative, was put down like that whole week. I was sick, so it was hard to say, and I never got retested, but I kind of felt like I did get it.
Yeah.
So and
Okay.
nothing ever happened with my parents either. So it's kind of like those are my like yeah, and it's like we're not. It's hard to like just point the finger. We don't know who patient zero was. It could have been just a random brush up with somebody at the gas station. You're getting your groceries or whatever. I mean, that was the other thing. Back when COVID was still not being taken care of in the valley, there was always somebody without a mask at HEB. And I was just like, of all the places you need to wear masks, just at least in the store, at least a grocery store,
Yeah.
please, at a grocery
Yeah.
store. I
Absolutely.
totally understand that. If you don't want to wear it at a bar, if you don't want to wear it like whatever, I don't care. But this is a place where people buy their survival needs, and
Yeah.
you're walking around real proud, that, oh, COVID denier and blah blah blah. But same time, it's kind of like I it's New York and New Jersey, because I live in Jersey, in New Jersey, in Union City. So I'm just like directly across from Midtown, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
just
But
night and
there's like
day.
there's a body of water between you though, right?
There's water.
Between you and New York.
It's Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
the Hudson River is that big body of water there, and New Jersey and New York are not the same. Like nobody really wears masks in Jersey. No one wears them.
Mhm.
In New York,
Yeah.
everyone's wearing them. Um, but at the same, yeah, in New Jersey, any city that's across from New York is going to be a big city with a couple million people in them. But New York, you're just on top of each other, on
Yeah.
top of each
Yeah.
other.
Quite
Actually,
literally, yeah.
so talk about funny about homeless people. Uh, when I was in the city, I was going to get a costume fitting for Law and Order, and I had to take a train. I saw this couple go up to a homeless man, and I think they're trying to offer him food because I thought, they thought, I guess he was in need of that. Well, what he was doing, he was actually just taking a shit on the platform. But the thing that impressed me the most was that he had a mask on.
Yeah. I was gonna
There you
mention
go.
that. Another place I feel like people need to have their mask on is in the shitter, like especially at a
Yeah.
public place. And now like even if like
Mm-hmm.
COVID disappears forever, I'm like, I'm gonna wear a fucking mask when I take a shit in public because as it is, it's gross.
There's some sections of the city where I'm like, yeah, I need to wear my mask. I won't wear my mask when I'm walking around, but
Yeah.
there's just like some blocks where I'm like, this is highly congested. And it's just dirty. I'm like, I'm gonna wear it even if it wasn't COVID, because it's bad. I
Yeah.
don't even know what I'm gonna get there. But I just hope that finally that we can get past, because man, I hate wearing the mask personally. I can't stand it. You wear glasses. I wear glasses too. I'm just
Yeah.
not wearing them right now. when they fog up, man, that sucks.
It's
It
annoying.
sucks.
Did you buy those wipes?
I didn't. I got contacts. So my, I got my. So I had developed an allergy to contact lenses, and
Oh shit.
yeah, and for some reason they couldn't figure it out, and the doctor over here maybe 3 weeks ago figured out. Well, let's get you a different thing, and let me get you these eye drops, and I have not had a problem since. So
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
it's been really good.
Nice.
Like because it would dry out within a matter of like an hour or so. My eyes would
Wow.
start hurting. Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah, wearing a mask in the middle of summer
Yeah,
is awful,
yeah.
I
awful.
wear a
And
mask every day at work. Every
dude.
day at
Yeah.
work, every day. I mean, gotta do it. Summer.
I was gonna
Like
mention.
I
So
work like in a warehouse. I work like in a
Yeah,
warehouse environment. So there's like in the summers it's fucking hot, and in the
yeah,
fucking winters it's super fucking cold. But
yeah,
yeah, I wear a mask all the time, 2 years straight. And I never really like lost work. It was like continuous work. So I've never really
yeah,
taken a
that's
break.
you
crazy.
never had
Yeah,
a lockdown, yeah. Uh,
No, never.
I was gonna mention. So you were feeling really sick. A couple of my friends that went down during that show, like they were like planning to get their booster, but
mm-hmm.
didn't get to it before they got sick. They talked about that they were testing negative, and they're like, "Man, I feel like shit, but maybe it's just allergies, or like maybe I got
Yeah,
a cold or the flu."
yeah,
And then once they're like, "Oh, I finally feel good," then they
yeah,
test positive. And I've
yeah,
heard of several people going through that. They're like, "I feel
yeah,
great now, but this is where I'm testing positive."
yeah.
Hmm.
I think yeah, that I believe that could be it because I think at some point I think we might have had it again just because when
Huh?
Omicron hit, I think everybody was getting it, and it's just
Yeah.
we swore we had it, and we tested and we tested and we tested, and nothing. And I just I don't know. Sometimes I think it might fly under the radar. One of the controversial things we were talking about with Joe Rogan was one of the guys that was on his podcast was saying that the PCR test can't decipher between the flu and COVID, so it automatically marks COVID. So that
Oh,
was part of the whole misinformation thing that they're talking about. But even then, if that's the case, like you still want to handle the flu, like you
yeah.
still want to get it
Flu
taken
kills
care of.
people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because what was the
Take a
argument?
day
People
off.
that was the argument when
Like
COVID first hit was that all these people were saying, well, the flu kills more people than COVID ever did. Well, we're still not worried
not
about the
anymore.
flu.
And the COVID's like, "Yeah, hold my beer."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
It was like like you're living like we're going back to like horror movies. It's like it was like a horror movie about what was
Yeah.
happening and
Oh, it
seeing
was
everything that was
absolutely.
just transpiring in New York and then in the Valley. It
Yeah.
was crazy. What
I
pissed me
can't
off?
even imagine what was happening in the valley. I can't even imagine.
Dude swinging chainsaws around because he doesn't like black people
Yeah.
like us.
Oh my god, that
Dude,
that was
I
the
can't.
legit Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um,
Yeah.
dude, the
That
thing
guy was
gets
wearing
me-
somebody's face, right?
yeah, he's wearing he's in brown face. It's just I don't know what he was doing.
He
Because
was.
I don't know what there was this thing about the valley, living in the valley. I loved being there. I mean, that's home for us. That's where
Yeah.
we were. It's grew up and raised, and just after being in New York and then going back down there, I just there's like this weird mentality of these different groups in the valley where
Yeah.
it's like there's like an identity crisis happening down there where they're trying to figure out who they are, like the Latinos for Trump, and it's almost as if they are Latinos, they're Mexican Americans, but they want to be white at the same
Yeah.
time. It's the most interesting thing. I remember
That's always happened though. Like
it has because yeah,
it's always been a thing. Yeah. Like I had a friend who it was early when I went to college, and I had a guy who we had a couple classes together. He's really nice, sweet guy. And he was like white complected, right? He was a little more white. He was Mexican though. He was more white complected Mexican.
Mhm.
And he had a wife and everything. His wife was white, right? So every now and then we would talk about certain things, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Mexicans, they're kind of dirty or something like that." He would say
Yeah,
like little
yeah,
comments.
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
dude,
I mean, I
you're-
I
you're
would say shit
Mexican
like
like
that when
me,
I was
you
in
know?
grade school. I was like, "Oh, let me try to be as white as possible because that's what we're being taught."
Yeah,
So,
well,
you
that
know,
That's true
I
too.
think that's a big thing too. That like parents would not want us to speak as much Spanish around the house
yeah,
because it was, adapting or adopting the white culture too.
yeah. My
I mean,
my
Yeah.
parents didn't teach me Spanish at all. They're like, you're
yeah,
just gonna learn English.
Well,
yeah,
a lot of the like our parents, our that generation, they were frowned upon. They had to speak English.
they had to,
Like
yeah,
Yeah,
they were like told, no, you got
hmm
to speak English. Like you
yeah,
no
yeah.
Spanish, no Spanish.
My
So
my dad
it's
yeah.
sat
that
in the back of the class
mentality.
because he didn't know
Yeah, it
English,
was.
There
Yeah,
you go.
they
Yeah,
would hit him. They would slap his arm every time he
mm-hmm.
spoke, so he was too afraid to speak, and then they just thought he was stupid. But
So
nobody wanted to teach him
but
English.
yeah, no, but
it appropriates them and
yeah,
ingrains in them, and then it
yeah,
teaches their kids, right? And then
Yeah.
yeah.
that's kind of like how they force Spanish out of us. You know what I mean?
Isn't
So
that crazy?
yeah,
How do
How
how
yeah.
do
that?
the two of you feel about, like you said, you live in New York for a while,
Yeah,
which I get, it is like a progressive city.
yes,
But I hate when you go back and people are like, "Oh man, you've changed. You let like these people change you." And it's like, "No, I'm just not like you and stuck in this bubble my entire life. I'm just seeing
absolutely.
the world, like
Yeah, no,
there's a lot of shit out there."
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand that 100%. Um, it's kind of like, oh, you big city boy thinking, like like a liberal or whatever, and it's just kind of like, well, I just listen more objectively to more things than just like
Yeah.
the cheeseman that you have going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
It's true.
around
Yeah.
town, or it's like very small-minded thinking, and
Yeah, it's
it's
like
just like being in the valley for the 2 years. It's like a blessing and a curse because it's kind of like I felt it brought to light so many things that I didn't realize uh, we were going through. One of the things that I realized being in the valley after not being there for so many years, for 8 years, was the healthcare system is awful, and they manipulate and they take advantage
yeah.
of people there left and right. And it's almost
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
doctor's office I went to down there. Um, they run what they call them, like, well, I heard it called Medicaid mills, where say you schedule an appointment, right, for, I don't know, just a general checkup at your GP, and it's at, you can schedule it for like 9 in the morning. You won't be seen and treated, and you won't leave that doctor's office until maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Like, you have to take a full day because they double, triple, and like quadruple book because they want to get as much of the insurance money as possible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just at one place. I noticed it was almost every single spot we went. Almost, I can't say like all, but for the most part, every single spot. I remember
Crazy.
yeah, I had to go to an ENT. We waited forever. And this was like, and then with COVID, it was even worse because now you had to wait longer because they couldn't schedule as many people, but they wanted to keep the same amount of patients going,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I remember my daughter got stung by this. We went, okay, twice to the emergency room. She was teething and she had a fever. And this was at the beginning of COVID. And the doctors were denying COVID, and the doctor tried to sit in our room and say, COVID's just, it's nothing, it's not gonna happen, it's gonna fly over and blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, so even then, like, if that's the case, so what do we do, with our daughter? She's in pain, we want to get her home, so why are you just sitting in this room, just killing time, like trying to reassure us that she doesn't have COVID? Like, it's the dumbest thing. And they charge us for like extra tests.
Yeah.
And the second time, well, that COVID really hit the valley like a month later, like bad. And the second time she went, I was with her at the playground. She was in the swing, and as I sat her in her stroller, I clearly saw her go, ah, like something bit her. It was a clear reaction, and then she just started screaming and screaming and screaming, and it was a spider. It was the only thing I could think. It was either a bee or a spider that bit her. But we took her to the ER just because she was inconsolable and couldn't stop crying. And I even found like a little thing, like, if you see like picture of my daughter, like she has really long hair, like not like her dad, and she's like, she was kept grabbing here, so we go into the ER, and I told the nurse, you have to go in, they check your blood pressure, all that, they check your vitals, and there's like a pre-screen, and then you go into a room. Well, he understood. He's like, oh yeah, there's like these different kind of like bugs or like spiders. And probably that's what bit her. Like he understood, right? So this doctor comes in, and this is mid COVID. Rose is pregnant, so she couldn't. She was scared to go in, because of COVID.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we get in there, and this doctor arrives like Marty McFly, a spacesuit, like, and
It's hoverboarding.
yeah, it
Hoverboarding.
was like the weirdest thing, and we couldn't understand what she was saying. And I told her, I was like, she got bit by a spider or something right back here. The doctor looked everywhere where else but that spot and said, "Oh, her lymph nodes are swollen. Look." And I'm looking. I was like, "There's nothing swollen." I was like, "What does this have to do with her lymph nodes? Does this a bite have to do that?" And she's like, "Well, no." And she said, "Do lymph nodes cause a reaction like that, like in pain?" No. Well, maybe it's mono. Maybe it's COVID. Maybe it's. I'm like, it had. She checked like 5 different tests. Drew blood from a
Mm.
2-year-old
Oh my
and
god.
they drew blood. They did what is it, mono test, which was
Yeah.
like really invasive. They did a COVID test, which is also up nose and everything. That was like before there was really gentle swabs, and
Yeah.
it was none of it came back. And I said, just check back here. And so I was mad and I left. And I went to a follow-up doctor because I was like, I don't trust what this doctor at the ER said. And sure enough, there was nothing wrong. And this doctor took the time the next day, another doctor took the time to actually sift through the hair and found where the spider bit her. It was like, how like when you get bit by spiders, like it kind of boils up, like there's like little blisters.
Yeah,
That's
you
what it
shoot
was.
blood
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's climbing walls now. So I
Yeah.
was like, you
You're
know,
like, is it the devil or is it a spider bite? It's probably COVID.
exactly. It's COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's what COVID is, the devil.
So my younger brother's one of his best friends is a doctor
Mm-hmm.
in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and he talks about like he went to school outside of the valley. I think he was like San Antonio, then he went somewhere else to finish.
Yeah.
And there are lectures. They have like classes talking about like there's certain parts of the United States where like these doctors are not legit doctors and they treat everything like the Wild West and they talk about the valley. It's in the
Oh
course where they
god.
talk about like it's like the Wild West down there, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. I
shit.
heard once of a guy who was dating a young woman who was doing a residency at an unnamed hospital in the valley in McAllen area. And the reason
Your pick of
why,
like three. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's only
exactly.
three.
So I'm not going to name which one, but it was a surgical resident. And they said, well, why did you choose this of all the schools? It's like, because I'll get like 5 to 10 times more experience of surgeries than any of my classmates because they run so many random surgeries
Yeah.
at
Yes.
this
Oh yeah.
unnamed hospital.
Well, it's big
Unfortunate
money
story.
there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
big money because
it
it's
is.
like it's really sick older people,
Yeah.
poorly educated, low on the education scale.
Mhm.
One of our friends, one
People
of
that
all
take
of our
advantage of
friends
it. Yeah,
got taken advantage of. His mother
unfortunately,
passed away
yeah.
from cancer,
Oh,
and it's Torres. Yeah, so his mother passed away from cancer, and
Mm-hmm.
he talked about everything that I went through, and he's like, "Man, this is such bullshit. Like, I wish I was back in fucking California to take care of my mom because
hmm,
they're not doing anything right." And
no,
we got the little time we had with her, but it could have been a lot more. And of course, he's trying not to
That
be upset about it, but he's like, "It's just fucking Valley, dude."
yeah, it's exactly
it's
what
true.
it is in the valley. It's the mentality of like they know they can take advantage of the people
Mm-hmm.
there, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
mentality of like, I'm the doctor, I went to medical school, you didn't. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
believe you. We believe you, sir.
That's like I
Yeah.
feel like every sort of profession in the valley too. It's like
Mhm.
not
Yep,
I went to school to be a mechanic, so you have to trust me. And it's like,
yep,
and that's another thing that they take
yep,
advantage of over there.
dude.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mechanics are fucking crooked, man.
over there, yeah, no, it's really bad. And I mean, the valley is a very good place. It's just like there's like certain things like you talk about, like leaving the valley and going back. I really saw like, okay, that's not cool, that's not really
Yeah.
cool. um So yeah, before we wrap it up, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you just top five horror movies of yours of all time.
Oh, you know what? I didn't answer your question, and it's real quick. Evil Dead 2 is the first
You
movie
would,
that scared the fucking shit out of me.
yeah.
I made my dad stop. I was watching it at night. You know, my
Hmm.
older brother had rented the tape. You
Yeah.
know, showing our age, right?
Yeah.
Rented the tape. Uh, I made my
In the
dad
adult
stop
section?
it.
No.
Oh yeah. I made my
Yeah.
dad stop it when Linda comes out of the grave and starts like doing ballet with her head.
Oh yes,
I
yes.
could not fucking take it. I was
Yeah.
like, stop it, stop it. And my dad was like, are you really seriously? I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't, like, you know. And I was freaking out and had nightmares. But I woke up the next day and I was like, I want to finish this movie.
Yes.
So I fucking watched it on my own. I was like, I fucking love this movie.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I think it's just the fear, the act of getting scared is kind of like fun. It's like the adrenaline rush, and then it just becomes like, yeah, you're just desensitized to it, and now it's kind of like what can actually scare you. Like I think you
Yeah.
find, I don't know about you all, but for me, like watching horror movies now, it's kind of like harder to get scared. Like when people say, "Oh my god, that was so scary," I'm like, was it?
Yeah,
Was it?
yeah,
It
yeah.
really, like, I mean, just because if you've watched so many for so long, it just becomes like, man, it's kind of like if there's
yeah.
one movie that like pops out and scares me, it's just like that's I'm gonna watch it. Like, or if it's different, like the Autopsy of Jane Doe that we talked about on your
Yeah.
podcast, like that was
Mhm.
different. Hereditary for me, that was different.
Yeah.
I like that. Um,
Insidious did that for me the
yeah,
first time I saw it.
very. I mean, even The Conjuring, the first one was really
Yeah.
good. Like they did certain things that were much different.
Oh,
Um,
It Chapter 1? That was a fucking great, like,
So I was so mad about the It movies because I wanted to see what Cary Fukunaga would have done with him.
um, yeah.
You know,
Oh, dude, have you fallen down that rabbit hole of videos
uh-uh,
of the guy explaining what Cary Fukunaga would have done? Because he has like
no,
scripts and he has like he talks about the turtle. He talks about he goes deep,
yeah,
deep, 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 and he just reads it and he tries to does like little cuts parts, little animations and stuff to it.
yeah.
If you have time, fall down that hole of
I'm
what
gonna
the
check that out.
unproduced it. Yeah, it's really
Nice.
cool.
I think the turtle would be a hard
Yeah,
sell.
I don't know. Yeah, the turtle and the whole
You know,
the
reading it, that's
bonding,
cool,
Yeah.
but
the
The
bonding
bonding,
experience.
yeah.
yeah.
It's a little
Well, no, that's the
questionable.
only thing I wanted to see. I was like, you can just cut the rest of the movie out. Like, where's this scene?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
I like because I like coming of age films, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You're like,
anyway, that's when John got canceled.
Yeah.
he's so LA. He's so
He's
LA.
so LA.
That's John
He's
over
so
here.
LA.
Yeah, he's so
Yeah.
so very LA.
So yeah.
You know?
But yeah.
Um,
Anyway, like five favorite horror movies. We'll have to wrap it up. I have my kid is teething, so I
Oh.
need to go.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Give her some bourbon.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I
Yeah,
don't
number one for
know.
sure. Evil Dead 2. That's for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I think The Thing will probably be my
Thing.
number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exorcist.
Exorcist.
Um,
Any of the
Prince
slashers?
of Darkness kind of fucked me up.
Yeah.
Slashers. I'm not a fan of
I'm
slashers.
not a- I'm
We've
not
been
a slasher
watching
guy either.
more. We've been watching a ton more, and it's just
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
they
they're
don't-
okay. I mean, Black
haven't hit
Christmas
me.
was
They're
fucking
okay.
fantastic.
Black Christmas
Yeah.
was fucking
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's like the Godfather of them all. That one's a
Yeah.
really fucking good movie.
Yeah, the
Um,
original.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's
not the
it's
woke
tough.
one. No, just kidding.
No,
Yeah.
no. Not at all.
I talk about. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I worked with the person that wrote and directed the remake.
Yeah.
She also did like something else, and I was like, just talking to her, you're like, "Ugh, okay,
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting away with things because of certain things about
She
your
was
person.
so proud of what she did.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what you said, John? That
yeah. And
she was super proud of what she's like. Oh my god, I got a great idea.
and then everybody
Yeah.
else was like, oh, okay.
Friday. No, Nightmare on Elm Street fucked me up.
Halloween?
The first one.
Halloween was great.
No, Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween's really good. What else? I guess all the classics, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what I find now, what I'm really loving about our show is that we watch a lot of newer films, and we're finding all these amazing directors that are doing crazy shit, like
Yeah.
inventive new
Come
stuff.
true.
That's always the fun part.
Yes. Yeah.
We got an ongoing joke
Oh,
where
yeah.
I didn't initially love Come True, and then over like the course of a year, I'm like slopping that movie's knob. left and right. Almost every pub. I'm like, it's kind of like come true though. It's like-
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sputnik was great.
And-
I was gonna say Demons is in my
Yeah.
top 5 somewhere.
Demons. Yeah, yeah. Was it Argento?
Seems up there.
Right?
No, it's
No, no, no.
Lucio.
Fulci.
Oh.
Fulci.
Yes, Pussy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more of like I like you. I'm not a huge slasher fan, but I do love the Halloween movies. I love Halloween. I
Yeah.
love Halloween 3 for some reason. And the thing I would love to have seen is if it would have gone with Carpenter's original concept of Halloween, following almost like an anthology for every
Yeah.
movie. That would have been cool if he would have kept that up. But they ran with the
See, Rolando? You see?
Yeah.
I didn't know that before. It blew my mind. John
Yeah.
said that on the show when we're doing
Yeah.
our little Halloween cycle during the month of October.
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned that. I was like, man, that would have been. Of course, it's John Carpenter. He's a genius.
He's a
So,
genius.
so
It
was
would have
Deborah
been
Hill.
awesome.
She was.
Yeah, the
her-
Ward. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
her too. No words.
But yeah, I would have loved to have seen
Anything-
that.
Honestly,
Uh,
anything John Carpenter made, I pray at his altar. That's my guy.
too.
That's my
Me
number one guy.
too.
Yeah,
me
and the
too.
Mouth of Madness is fucking fantastic.
Yes.
All his
yes.
movies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're all-
the thing, Mouth of Man. It was it Prince of Dark. What is it? The trilogy, because it pays homage to
the Fog, I think, is one of them, right? No.
No,
The
no,
Fog?
it's Prince of Darkness, the Mouth of Madness, and the Thing, and it's a trilogy.
Oh,
I
The
can't
Thing,
remember what
that's
it's called.
The Apocalypse series, right?
The Apocalypse series,
Yeah.
and it's like kind of
Mm.
Lovecraftian. It's all Lovecraftian,
Yeah.
and
That's
I
true.
love that.
That's true.
It's very
Yeah.
very Lovecraftian, and yeah. Also, Mike Flanagan as for newer.
Oh
directors.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
anything-
Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan touches, I'll watch.
So
We're just talking about
when
yeah. Sorry.
we were just talking about that. Like I remember you had mentioned, have you seen Midnight Mass? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I haven't had time to check it out. It's kind of like a busy time of
You
the
told
year
me that too,
for,
that's
for my
right.
work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well, I finally have a week off. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch Midnight Mass. This was like in January.
Yeah.
I literally binged the whole series in one day. I sat
So
in the
good.
morning and watched it all day, and I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was perfect. Yeah.
That
perfect.
fucking actor, I mean, they were all amazing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have an issue with one of them, but
He has issues with a lot of them, actually.
No.
But it's-
because like the nurse or
What's
the
her
teacher, I
name?
mean, was
Yeah, yeah.
fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
The priest, I like could not stop.
Oh, the
I was like,
priest is
man,
really
he's
good.
fucking.
yeah.
Well, he's a
his choice
stage
is
actor.
So
good.
deliberate. Yeah.
He's a stage actor
No.
here in New York.
Oh.
He-
Wait, no, wait,
huge.
he's not a priest.
Yes,
That burned
see,
up?
that's how good he was.
I was like, it sucks that this guy's dead.
Yeah, Hamish
Damn, he burned
Linklater.
up.
Like he's, I remember like he's done a lot of theater here in New York. Very, very
I only
good.
seen him in his TV shows. Like he did
Yeah.
like New Adventures of Old Christine, I think, right?
Mhm.
He wasn't very good in that, but
No.
it's not his fault. But when I saw him in this, it's like the first time I actually seen him in something like this, and
Yeah.
it's just blew me away, dude. It was just, and one of my personal
So
favorite
good.
actors is Zach Guilford. Guilford.
Yeah,
Guilford?
from Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
amazing
he
in
was
this
so
show,
good,
dude.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing in
Yeah.
the show. I can't say enough good things about him. He's
Yeah.
just every little thing he did, every his performance, everything. I was just like,
Yeah.
of course, like captivated. And then what ends up happening to him, right? Tragically, right, in the show.
Oh,
But,
but that was such a beautiful
yeah.
scene, though.
Dude,
It
and
was.
what a
It was
fucking
beautiful.
choice, you know? Like,
Yeah.
he was our fucking protagonist the entire show.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike
Yeah.
Flanagan is like, actually, my wife.
yeah,
yeah.
always, always.
Always.
All right, guys. So when can
All
we? When and where can we find your podcast? So I want people to so I can send them over your way, so we can have like a horror movie watching guide.
Sure. Yeah, we do all our shows post anywhere you can get your podcasts. You know, iTunes is usually our most popular one. We post every Thursday at midnight, the witching
Thursday
hour.
midnight.
Yeah, Thursdays at midnight.
Amazing.
And we try to, you know, we try to watch new stuff. We're trying to watch more new stuff now, but with COVID, it was kind of difficult. We're trying to watch. That's why we try to get Textile Massacre. We're trying to watch stuff that's coming out of the theater more, especially now
Yeah.
we're in LA. We got more access, but
Good.
we also try to watch stuff that piques our interest, right? We just kind of just pick things that we haven't seen, indie stuff, new stuff, old
Yeah.
stuff. We just kind of just mix it up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
do you ever have like a side idea of doing like, you know, we're gonna pick the random Netflix selection so that you don't have to
But we are actually doing that right now.
trying to find
Yeah.
like the hidden gem.
We're doing Archive 81 right now.
Archive
Okay.
81. Have you
Yeah.
I know
Have
the
you
lead.
checked that out?
The girl.
It's very New York. That's what I said. It's very
Yeah.
New York actors, and I
I
didn't
know-
mean that
I-
as an insult, but
yeah.
it's very New York.
I know
Yeah.
the female lead.
Oh,
the-
her, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
she's like
She-
hot version of Katie
And I
Holmes.
said I didn't like
and
her
taller.
voice.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't say I didn't like her voice. We were being really shallow at that point. Yeah.
yeah, no, she was.
But
she's great,
Archive
though.
81 is like one of those podcasts I was telling you about. That it's a
It's a
scripted
podcast.
podcast. Yeah. So check it
Mhm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice,
Very cool.
Yep.
Amazing,
Thank
guys.
you very much, George.
No,
you for
thank
having
you.
us, man.
And we'll do this again. We'll catch up and have like a whole movie list of we'll have like another we'll have you back. We'll talk more horror.
Yeah, we can
All
talk
right.
about Psycho Gorman.
Psycho. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. Right now, my kid is teething and my wife needs
Okay.
assistance. All right, but I appreciate
Okay,
you
all
guys
right.
for hopping on here, and you're always
Absolutely,
welcome
sir.
on here. All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
everybody.
I see you.
Thank you for listening and watching. If you watch, you can catch it on iTunes. I will be popping this out on Mondays. Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody, and be kind to one another. All right.